if you are thinking that where the law is today is going to be the where it's going to be in 5 or 10 years, I think that's going to be a mistake. So I would caution young lawyers and law students to be thinking a little farther out.
Welcome to the You Are Lawyer podcast. Stephen Candelmo, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. You are in one of my favorite cities ever, Austin, Texas.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, it's a great city. A little hot in the summer, but overall it's fantastic. It's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you go to law school in Texas?
No, I actually went to law school in Ohio and then in DC,
Okay,
University of
I'm in
Akron.
Columbus right now.
Oh, wonderful. Go Buckeyes.
I'm from Columbus, went to Ohio State for undergrad, and then moved to Louisiana for law school. And so,
Wonderful.
where are you from?
Originally from Pennsylvania, like Allentown, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so Pennsylvania to Akron to Texas. Texas definitely has the better weather.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. It's been a good move. We've been here for about 3 years. Yeah, I was a little tired of DC. You can't walk the sidewalk without bumping into a lawyer, right? As you probably know. So it's been pretty good to branch out.
Yeah, of course, of course. Okay, cool. So, Stefan, we are here to talk about Paralex. Tell me
Yes.
all about it. Why would a lawyer want to create a business?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, my career has been, 29 years as a corporate lawyer, focusing on emerging companies and investors and so forth. But along the way, I've been an entrepreneur a couple times. And about 12 years ago, I did an AI technology startup where we were analyzing large volumes of data to understand what people were saying about brands and products and so forth. And it was interesting. We had some notable customers, but I never really understood the problem that we were solving. I love the technology. I love the potential for it. So I always promised myself that if I ever had another opportunity, I would apply that technology to the law. And, basically, answering the question, me as a corporate lawyer, how can I scale myself and serve more and be able to provide greater value and access to companies and small business owners that just typically just don't have it. So that's where Paralex really was born, from that experience to a real prevalent problem in the legal industry in terms of how we're wedded to the hourly rate and just becoming so cost prohibitive and difficult to find someone that you can trust. I mean, all those things that you probably could imagine.
Yeah. So I worked in a big law firm for about 5 years. When you were working as a corporate lawyer, were you in-house? Were you at a law firm? Were you with a corporation or what?
I was at a big national law firm.
Okay.
Yeah, doing a ton of different interesting work, and this thing from, formations to, public market work.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'm trying to picture you doing this work and then you're like, kind of bored. Oh, start a business. Yeah, I'll go to this AI thing. Where did that kind of come from? How did it even cross your path?
Yeah. In terms of the first one, well, that was about 2000, 2009, which was like the Great Recession. And I was just enamored by what was happening in technology. And with that, I was representing some technology companies. So I was really involved in the space. And I saw this opportunity to potentially go out on my own while at the same time maintain my practice and try to build a technology company. And that's what that company was all about.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone is listening like, AI existed in 2009.
Yeah, it did. It was called something different. It was called machine learning. It was called sentiment analytics, a computer to read a tweet or read a product review and discern whether someone is saying something positively or negatively or neutral and so forth. It's very in vogue in terms of what we call like voice of the customer or social listening. But that technology really got commoditized. And I think in some ways, maybe that's where we're heading to with all this AI work. I mean, the AI completely changed things. How Paralex really started was, as I mentioned, I always said to myself, if I had another shot, I would do it in the law. and particularly of what I understood, and that was representing startups and small businesses and so forth. And when ChatGPT came out in November 22, while everyone was basically going online and creating a free account, I created an account to get an API account so I could actually build an application over top of it. So I just built a really simple application to see how people would possibly use it to answer their legal information questions. Interesting success, but I knew there wasn't really a real business model. So about a year of doing this side project, that's when I was like, oh, I think I know how to deliver end-to-end legal services utilizing AI, just creating these hyper efficiencies where all that value could be provided to the clients, right? So no longer charging $750 an hour, or if I was at a big law firm, $1,200, $1,500 an hour, which just becomes inaccessible, right? And just in some ways not fair. So trying to even out the playing field.
Yeah, I love the fact that you wanted to even out the playing field, but also there were a lot of little gems in there, right? So first of all, you took one small risk when you started with the company that wasn't legal based. And then working in that, you were like, oh, another opportunity. Here I go. Right? It's like you were already anticipating another one's going to happen. And then with that one, I'll make it legal. So that's important, especially for business owners. Like people are like, how can you do one thing and then do another? It's like once you start and your mind has begun to like innovate, you're always on the lookout for the next.
Yeah, it's a shift in mindset, right? It's like that movie, The Matrix. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. And Neo is presented with taking two pills. You know, once you take that one pill, you'll never look at the world the same. And in some ways, that's the same way, right? Once you start looking at things that you could possibly innovate on or improve on, and you know that you are empowered to possibly start your own business. And if there's one thing as a lawyer that I've somewhat adopted from my own clients was this mix of business and legal. And I think you often say as a lawyer, like, well, you know, I could do that. You know, and I'll save a lot of money on legal fees, right? So I don't have to hire a lawyer. So
yeah, I often say like if there's anything that I can read myself, I can do it. I mean, short of like surgery, you can figure it out. That's what they train us to do.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. My when I was considering a career in the law, I just remember my father saying, you know, maybe you should go to law school. And at the time, you know, you view this back in the day on television, there was this show called LA Law, right? It was just about this big LA law firm and they're all litigators and this dramatic life and all of that. And I was like, I'm not really I'm not interested in going to court. But he made the point saying, listen, you go to law school, it's going to teach you how to think. You can do so many things with that, whether you want to be a lawyer, whether you want to be in government, be a politician, be in business. They can never take that away from you. And in the event that you want to, you know, branch out on your own, you could always hang your own shingle. And that's exactly what I did. So I'm often thinking about him in terms of like, yeah, it was a real valuable asset to acquire.
Yeah. So was your dad a lawyer?
No, no.
Really? Where'd he get that insight from? That's cool.
No, yeah, he was just a blue collar guy. You know, he went to college late in his life, an immigrant blue collar family in Brooklyn, New York. So, but always really promoted the value of education to me and my two older brothers, and then my mom, who was Korean, her father in Korea was a judge. So there was this somewhat expectation that all of the three Candelmo boys were going to be somewhat professions. So there ended up to be one CPA and two lawyers. we didn't have the doctor to my mom's disappointment. So
yeah. No, that's really interesting. I actually created this podcast because I was working in big law, but I wasn't working in a traditional role. I was training paralegals and opening new departments, which is kind of unheard of because law firms don't change very often. Right. And I was basically in operations, and no one told me that operations existed. And so I was like, I literally created this podcast to tell people there's so many things you can do outside of being in court. And so I love that you kind of had that hidden secret. You've had it for years.
Yes. And I always had an interest in business. I just remember being in high school and taking an accounting class, and you know the class is basically you simulated running, some sort of local store or something. And I always enjoyed that. So it was pretty interesting. So it seemed to combine, to become a business lawyer or corporate lawyer. I really like bringing people together, trying to get to a fair and a win-win situation. And at the same time, always advocating on behalf of my clients when necessary.
Yeah, of course, of course. You didn't say it, but it also teaches us how to advocate for ourselves, which is a really big part. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Sometimes to our partner's frustration. Right.
Yes. I have a 4-year-old and I've taught her how to advocate very, very well. She's
Really?
a negotiator too.
Yes.
It's funny. Yeah. She's like, Mom, these 2 books are short. So if we read these 2, it counts for 1. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. All right. I'll give you that.
There's some good foundation there.
I'm like, okay, I'll give you that one. Yeah.
There you go. There's some good foundation there for a future lawyer.
Yes. Yes. All right. So, Stephen, let's talk about what you do now. I know you spend a lot of time interacting with VCs. You're networking a lot, which is just talking to people. People always are like, networking scary, but it's just getting to know other people, interacting.
Yeah.
What is a typical day like for you, or do you have any typical days?
Every day is different, especially when, starting a company from scratch in a startup, it's extremely challenging. One day is you have a high, the next day is a low, and everything in between. For the most part, my day is spent off of, as the founder and CEO of the company, in terms of sales, customer outreach, fundraising and partnerships, overseeing product in terms of where we are in terms of our software platform. And then I'm one of the lawyers on the platform providing the services to these clients. So it's always a mix of all of that. Sometimes there's a greater percentage of one versus the others, but it's usually all within that range.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say those are pretty disparate. Sales, and then maybe you're practicing or reviewing documents, and then also customer service. And this is all with Paralex. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who are your customers? Are you selling it to small business owners, like small lawyers, like maybe 10 lawyers or less in the firm? Or is it for big offices, or what?
Well, Paralex is a little different. So we're not selling to lawyers. The platform, it really is a client-facing solution where customers, so our ideal customer is a small business or a startup that's less than 20 employees. They're US based. Typically with startups, it's usually first-time founders because they just don't have the network or the wherewithal in terms of working with an attorney, and they often just don't have the resources to do so. And then small business owners that have just expressed frustration of, they may have an attorney, but maybe they're not as wed to them, or maybe they don't have the specialty that they're looking for, or they're just afraid, or not afraid, but they're hesitant to contact the attorney because they're just tired of getting the surprising large bills at the end of the month. That's usually the mix of folks that we're working with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I am a small business owner. I've had my business for 2 years, February 2025.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I know when I need a lawyer?
How do you know?
Besides me, I can read my stuff myself, but how would anyone else know? Yeah.
Well, I think that whenever you are specifically entering into any type of contractual obligation, right? Anything in terms of from a monetary or from a startup standpoint, intellectual property rights, for a startup perspective, where you're issuing equity or ownership in your company to someone in exchange for something in return, anything where you're somewhat acquiring a right or you are assuming an obligation. I think that the question is, where does it fall on the spectrum of a risk profile as to like, well, I really don't need a lawyer for that, versus maybe, yes, I definitely do, because I'm possibly going to be giving some sort of exclusivity, or I'm giving 20% of my company away, and I want to make sure I'm protected. Those things are rather obvious, right? But I think the sweet spot of at least what Paralex is trying to solve is that we really want to encourage people to use a lawyer, right? Even when you don't think you may not need one, people just don't know what they don't know. They don't know what questions to ask, right? And even more today, they're relying on these chatbots, and I'm getting more and more people, basically giving me an agreement that they have drafted ChatGPT, or they've done an analysis of a contract or an issue via ChatGPT. And that's all fine and good. But if you're relying just on that, there's no accountability. There's no backstop. Who are you going to look to in the event that you're wrong, in the event that the words were not right, that conveyed a different intent? So what we're trying to do is saying, maybe it's not $3,000. Maybe your analysis of when it's appropriate shouldn't be based off of, is this worth a couple $1,000s for me to have someone take a look at? But what's the risk, right? You're a business owner. You want to try to avoid a costly mistake. And you probably have seen this or have heard this, or where I'm getting brought in to clean things up, right? Because they didn't have a lawyer look at it. And like, why didn't you have a lawyer look at this? It's like, I did, but it's my uncle and he's a family law guy. I'm like, right. It's like, me taking my car to, an HVAC repair guy. Hey, can you check the engine? Hey, it looks pretty good. Sounds pretty good. But right. So, yeah.
And I think TV doesn't really help. But a lot of people think that if once you're a lawyer, you can do everything. And yes, we were joking about if I can read it, I can do it. But if I spend day after day after day doing family law and you bring me a contract, there's differences, right? Yeah. That's not the stuff I do all day, every single day. Just like, yes, an HVAC guy he does understand machines. Your car is a machine.
Right.
It's not the same.
Right.
It truly isn't the same.
And one other thing, I think it's important to note that, speaking to an experienced attorney, the one thing that they can provide you is their relative expertise or experience as to what is market or what is standard or what is typical. I'm representing a client, a small client. They're going to be buying a business, and the other side presented some really beyond the pale type of financial term. And that's just not regular, right? And to point that out, that really doesn't come from, an AI foundational model. It comes from 30 years of experience saying this is not typical, right? Now, you may decide to move forward and assume that risk. That's okay. But it's my job to inform you of that, to give you that advice to say, typically people would not be agreeing to this. Right?
Yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have 3 employees and myself as well. So 4, but when I think of issuing equity, that sounds scary. That sounds, that's important. Get a lawyer. But when I think about a media contract, I'll just, but from what you're saying, if it involves money, if it involves royalties and things like that, you probably should have someone else review it. So that's an interesting kind of perspective, I think.
Yeah. And I think, and the question is, why are people not doing it? And I think it comes down to cost, right? It's just saying, is it worth it? Well, number one, do I know someone who can actually take a look at this, right? And do it relatively quickly and affordably. And then you weigh that cost and time compared to what you're signing up for, or maybe something that you should be asking in that media contract that you're not getting because it's just not there. But an attorney may say, hey, you may want to ask for this, right?
Yeah. I remember the first time I looked at a contract and for one of my clients, and it was like, post this on this date. And I was like, okay, when does it end? Oh, it doesn't end. Absolutely not. You can't just pay for indefinite rights to publish. I was like, do you know how expensive that is? I was like, no, this ends 3 months after it's published. And they were like, can I do that? Yes. And actually, they probably were surprised you hadn't asked about it before.
That's right. I think technology is just going to completely change the game as to what is accessible for our clients. And the difference, I think, and this is my own contrarian view, Kyla, in terms of where I think the industry is moving. And that is, it's not just tools for lawyers. I think it's going to be a completely different way of how you're engaging with clients and what my role is going to be. My role is probably going to be more of a overseer, right? And there will be, again, in my realm, right, as a business lawyer, contracts, advisory work, and so forth. And what's going to be between you and me is really going to be a software interface. And within that software interface, you're going to have, AI agents being able to do work for you, or they're almost like an associate, right? And me overseeing that work, just like I would oversee an associate's work. But you're not getting charged for an hourly rate for that AI agent to do that work. And I think that's where things are going to be. And that is going to actually expand accessibility and reach for people that normally would not have these services. Now, I'm just in the realm of small business owners and startups and so forth. But if you move it towards the justice movement or you're in terms of consumers, I think it's going to increase the demand for legal. That's how I think about it. Some people view it more as, oh, it's just a new types of picks and shovels for people to do work faster and more efficiently. I don't think so. I think it's going to be much more profound. So,
yeah. I had someone on the podcast earlier who they created like a research tool for lawyers. Yeah. And the way they said it, they see we're all going to kind of be our own CEOs and we're going to be overseeing multiple AIs that are doing the work. So you'll be kind of the manager who does like that final review of, oh, you got that done, you did this, but like each of the CEO, this one's doing operations, this one's doing that, this one's doing that. You're kind of just going through your checklist at the end of the day. Great, it was all done or whatever.
Yeah, I think you're going to be able to do so many less typical headcount of humans, you know?
Yeah. So hopefully a little less errors as well.
Hopefully, but ultimately, again, it gets back to accountability. I think that's where, we as a profession ultimately reside. We have ethical obligations in terms of how we provide our services, how we represent our clients, and we are held accountable to those standards. And I just don't think, a pure AI solution is going to meet that, given that just like any profession, whether it's a doctor or and so forth, as a lawyer, we have a trusted and fiduciary relationship with our clients. And that human element is so important. That's not going to go away. I just think that it's going to move into the background and elevate up. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm right.
We'll see. All right, Stephen. So I have two more questions. Yeah. So if I went and signed up for Paralex today, what do I get? Do I have a certain amount of hours that I get to interact with a lawyer every month? Do I receive templates? Is it on demand? Are you on retainer?
Yeah, right now it's all demand. It's just a business model in terms of we do 3 core services right now. We draft agreements, we review agreements, and we do advisory sessions. And every one of those things that we call them projects, and everything is paid via a fixed fee per project based off of subject matter and complexity. And that includes collaborating or working with the lawyer on the platform, right? And so it's really trying to almost put the lawyer at the end where the attorney is in the loop for you and to give you the peace of mind as to what your work product is in terms of the outcome you're looking for, and you're paying for it in a completely upfront, transparent way. There's no surprises. There's no, oh my God, I just got a bill for $3,000. Wait, who's this other person that's building time on this? I didn't know that. What's this? Oh, I got a paralegal. I've got an associate. Then I've got you as the partner reviewing it. Like, wow, like, okay, a 2-hour project turned into 4.5 hours.
I'm smiling because I remember those good old days where you go to lunch with a partner and you guys discuss a case for 5 minutes and you get to bill it. Both of you bill it for the client. Yeah. And it was fun. I actually enjoy billing. I still record my time now. That's how I knew like I needed to hire an assistant. Because I was like, if I'm doing something for more than 8 hours, I got to hire somebody to do it.
Wow.
So I do loosely still kind of like record my time just to know. But yeah, you would have a 15-minute conversation and then you send out the bill and they're like, but I was only on the phone for 10 minutes. I know, but I waited for 5. You got to pay for the whole thing. Yeah.
When I left my my big firm, I started my own solo practice and I called it Point One Legal. And the reason why it's Point One Legal, one, there's 2 meanings to it. One, I felt like it was the intersection of business advice and legal, right? So, and then second, if you remember, you would have to capture your time in 6-minute increments, right? So that represented 0.1 on a billing sheet. And it was just a reminder for me that that's just not the way I wanted to practice law. And I just felt like, that's not what I want to do in terms of my own clients once I was outside of that realm of that large firm, right? Which again, everything is a business. I get it. You got to capture every single minute because that really can make a huge difference. But the 0.1, I was never really a fan of.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of cool. You're like poking fun of it. Just like with me, the podcast is called You Are a Lawyer. We talk about everything but the practice. You just have to be a lawyer to get on the show. And then it's like, what else are you doing?
Right.
So,
We're all very interesting, us lawyers, right?
yeah.
We come from different backgrounds and different experiences. So
we truly are. And I think, I'll probably take all 200 episodes and run it through a machine and try to get, like, what are the common themes? What are the common this? Because some people knew lawyers, some people didn't. And then, like, you saw someone else or you saw a sibling go to law school. Like, there's so many different reasons why people go to school or why they end up doing what they're doing after law school. So it's fascinating.
That's right.
That's right. All right. So, Stephen, my last question, and I ask every guest that comes on the show.
Okay.
What would you say to law students or young lawyers, 5 years practicing or less, about what they can do with their law degree?
I would repeat back as to what my father said. You really can do anything, right? Yeah. And view it as an investment in yourself. There's one thing that's very certain, and that is life is uncertain and things will change. And having that flexibility to, be able to go left and go right based off of the skills and experience that you develop, as a lawyer that you developed in law school will never leave you, right? They can never take that away from you. So, be open for other opportunities because that's what brings fulfillment and purpose in life, so.
Yeah, I love it. When I went to law school, I wanted being a lawyer to bring fulfillment and purpose. And then I realized that was my job and my life had to be fulfilling and purposeful. So I really like that you said that because be open to what else can bring fulfillment and purpose.
That's right. Yeah. And I do think that going back to AI, I do think it's a huge bat signal in the sky right now in terms of where the profession is. If you're a young lawyer, you're a law student, you really need to be looking at adopting those skills because they will be a part of your practice. And also understanding where maybe it won't be as prevalent, right? If you're a corporate or you're a litigator, you want to be a litigator, you're going to be using AI to be writing your briefs and your pleadings and so forth, but you still have to be going to court, right? We're not going to be going away from that. So looking out in the future and seeing where the puck is going to be, I think is really important. If you are thinking today that where the law is today is going to be where it's going to be in 5 or 10 years, I think that's going to be a mistake. So I would caution young lawyers and law students to be thinking a little farther out, right? The game has been permanently changed.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that is a great place to end. Thank you so much, Stephen. I really appreciate this.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was really fun.
Yeah, of course. I'll talk to you later. Bye.